Welcome into the Stack Shack Sports Show. Today we're talking quarterback contracts, and specifically we're talking about Jared Goff. My man got paid, and there's a lot of ramifications to his contract and other players in the league. For those of you that maybe haven't seen it yet, it's worth $212 million over 4 years, $170 million guaranteed. Jared Goff is 30 years old. He'll be 34 when the contract is up. It's a $53 million annual salary. Makes him the second highest paid quarterback in the NFL. Only Cincinnati's Joe Burrow is making more per year than Jared Goff. Comes right on the tails as Amon-Ra St. Brown and Penei Sewell both got big contracts. So the Lions are spending some money. And if we take a look at just, highest paid quarterbacks, Patrick Mahomes, he has the crazy one, right? 10 years, $45 million a year. But what is interesting is in a 10-year contract, by locking in Patrick Mahomes for this long out of 45, which made him the highest paid quarterback at the time, and he is still total value the highest paid. But take a look at all these other quarterbacks who are starting to make a lot more than him. Joe Burrow, Herbert, Lamar, Jalen Hurts, now Jared Goff. All starting to make significantly more money per year than Patrick Mahomes. First thing I think we have to talk about is, did Jared Goff deserve $53 million a year? And, for me, it's close. It's close. I can understand it, right? I can understand it. But $53 million a year seems too extreme. In my opinion, what the Lions are kind of banking on is that the cap will continue to go up significantly year over year, right? As football theoretically becomes more popular, as ratings continue to increase, as the brand of the NFL continues to grow, that salary cap does increase year over year based off of some of those interactions. The tricky part is you're now paying Jared Goff more than the Chargers just recently started paying Justin Herbert, more than Lamar's getting paid, almost as much as Burrow, and $8 million more than Patrick Mahomes. To me, Jared Goff, I don't know about y'all, is not worth $8 million more per year than Patrick Mahomes. I would much rather have Patrick. But we all thought that contract was a little intense when Patrick signed it, but then again, cap goes up, the market increases, start feeling maybe a little better. It is only a 4-year deal, whereas you'll see everybody else above him is a 5-year deal. Now, Josh Allen making significantly less per year. That contract's looking pretty nice, for Josh Allen. What I think you have to look at up at the top here, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson. Those are your 2023 recent contracts. And then 2024, we've had two big ones, right? Kirk Cousins and Jared Goff. I do think Jared Goff is significantly better than Kirk Cousins from a contract perspective. He's more valuable, right? Money-wise, I think we all agreed that Kirk Cousins was wildly overpaid at 45. But I do think that had a big factor in Jared Goff getting 53. Because if I was the Lions, I probably would have tried to get Goff more around the 46, 47, 48 range. I think that would have been possible. But then when Kirk Cousins gets 45, we start to run into some problems here. Old quarterback, hasn't been to a Super Bowl. Much younger quarterback. 5 years, 6 years younger than Kirk Cousins. has been to a Super Bowl, just got the Detroit Lions further in the playoffs than they have ever really been in any recent memory. He's got a lot of chips on his side. He's got a lot of bargaining chips when having those conversations. And to say, hey, Kirk just got 45 for 4 years. He's older than me. He's not as successful as me. And he's going to a new team. You know I can produce in this team, in this organization. We just made a deep playoff run last year. We feel like we are close on that Super Bowl bubble. I think Jared Goff's able to negotiate because of this Kirk Cousins deal. Again, Daniel Jones, Matt Stafford, Dak Prescott, they're all at that $40 million a year range. Daniel Jones' contract, I still think, is the worst contract in the NFL. Makes absolutely no sense why Daniel Jones is making significantly more money than Aaron Rodgers, Derek Carr. Doesn't make sense. Obviously, then we have all the rookie contracts down here. And then, some backup contracts. Gardner, Minshew. Although he might start. We'll have to see what happens there. But when we're talking big boy earners, I think I would have liked to see Jared Goff a little lower. Around that 47, 48 range. Would have been nice. Would have appreciated that. I think that would have been a better contract for Detroit. But one thing that Detroit has going for them is they have absolutely crushed it in the draft the last couple of seasons. And to be fair, they are somewhat paying the right positions, right? We had Penei Sewell, we had Amon-Ra St. Brown, we have Jared Goff. Hutchinson's probably going to get paid when his contract is up. In the NFL, there's a few positions you can pay and still be very successful. Go ask the Chiefs, right? Bit of a dynasty coming to life right now. You can pay quarterback if that quarterback is elite. You can pay offensive line, specifically left tackle, right? You can pay one weapon. You can't pay 7. You can't pay all the weapons. Ask Cincinnati how that's going. They already lost Boyd. They're probably going to lose Higgins eventually. You really can only pay one weapon big money. And then you can pay a pass rusher. Because the name of the game, in my opinion, building an NFL roster, is most important position is quarterback, and then everything else after that is all about making your quarterback as comfortable as possible. Offensive line, weapons, maybe pay their favorite target, pay the left tackle, and then pay people to make the other quarterback uncomfortable. Probably the easiest person to pay to make a quarterback uncomfortable is a great pass rusher. Or spread your money out a little bit and get a really solid front 4 or front 3, depending on what defense you're running. A good edge rusher. Those are the positions, in my opinion, that I would be looking for straight off the bat. Quarterback, and then make my quarterback happy. Give him a weapon. You can't pay every weapon a bunch of money. But whoever your quarterback's favorite weapon is, and Amon St. Brown, has been very, very productive. So I think he deserves a big contract. Give him the contract. And then Penei Sewell has been a fantastic tackle. So lock those two in. Notice it's a lot of 4-year deals, right? Amon-Ra St. Brown, 4 years. Penei Sewell, 4 years. Jared Goff, 4 years. That, to me, does make a lot of logical sense. Do I think you're paying a little bit too much for Jared Goff? Yes. You really have to compare him to Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow. Which, to be fair, Joe Burrow made a Super Bowl. Jared Goff's made a Super Bowl. All right. Jared has not been hurt as much. But I would argue that Joe Burrow probably took a little worse roster to a Super Bowl than Jared Goff did. But to be fair, Jared Goff is more durable, it seems to be. And, that matters. They also weathered the storm this offseason of a lot of people going after their offensive coordinator. He decided to stay. So that's a significant win for Detroit. Again, there's no salary cap on those. I'm sure there's some salary negotiations going on there. But in reality, you look at this team, this roster, it's similar in some ways, almost the inverse of what's happening in San Francisco. In San Francisco, you have Brock Purdy, was on a very, very inexpensive contract. So you could afford to pay all these weapons, all these players, expensive defense, expensive offense. I mean, you're paying McCaffrey, you're paying Debo, you're paying Kittle, you're paying Trent Williams. You are paying a lot of people on that team. But if we go down and find Brock Purdy, the dude's not even making $1 million a year because he was drafted so late. They signed him to a 4-year deal at $934,000 a year. I mean, the dude's making $30K a year more than Sam Ehlinger. Making less than Skylar Thompson, Nick Mullins, Tanner McKee. Making less than Michael Pratt, who just got signed as a rookie. Dorian Thompson-Robinson is making more. Right? I mean, you can go through. There's people I'm like, oh, I didn't even remember they were still in the league. Right? Like, oh, they're still a quarterback? I didn't even know. I didn't even know they were still in the league. So they had kind of the inverse of what Detroit has. Detroit is going to be paying their quarterback, but a lot of their other pieces, especially on that defensive side of the ball, super young, and they're all on those kind of rookie deals. So I think, all in all, I think Detroit's going to be able to make this work. Would I liked it to have been a little less expensive? Yes. I think you should learn something from the Jalen Hurts, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow contracts. Jalen Hurts gets a big contract. Are they going to be able to keep all the weapons? Joe Burrow's going through it right now. Will Joe Burrow be the same quarterback without Tyler Boyd? Potentially without T. Higgins. That could be a significant challenge. So I would have liked Detroit to have learned a little bit from what I think were somewhat mistakes by Philadelphia, Baltimore, Chargers, and Cincinnati in giving these really, really big $50+ million contracts. To me, I would have liked to see Detroit spend a little less and go, we're seeing the problems Cincinnati's having in the contract space. We're seeing some of the problems out of Philadelphia. We haven't really seen the problems out of the Chargers yet, but they're coming. It's just they've been bad so far. So figure it out. It's okay. They'll figure it out. I would have liked them to try and keep it under 50. But I do think they can make it work because their drafts have been so good. And they're locking all 3 of these dudes in for 4 years. All new contracts right now. Basically, they're saying, hey, we think we have a 4-year window to win a Super Bowl. Really, probably a 3-year window because that last year, the contract year, typically people try and get re-signed before it's up, before it really gets going. So really, they've got a 3-year contract window with the crux of their offense. You're also trusting that you have a little bit more of a defensive-minded coach, that he's going to be able to elevate a defense that is, maybe a little lacking on talent. Maybe you're not spending as much money over there. So I think Detroit, they'll get away with it. Now, what does this mean for some of the other quarterbacks soon to be up for contracts? I think Dak Prescott is probably the most obvious one. Dallas was all in this year in free agency, basically signed nobody. I think they brought Zeke back, right? That was really thrilling. We're going to be all in on the draft. It didn't really make any big moves. I believe that Dallas is looking at Dak Prescott and saying, all right, we're paying you $40 million a year. And again, this contract started back in 2021. We're paying you $40 million a year. Matthew Stafford in 2022 got a $40 million year contract. Matthew Stafford, Super Bowl winning quarterback, getting paid as much as Dak Prescott. And their contract started in the same year. That's crazy. That's crazy. So don't think that's a great contract. I don't think it has been a good contract over the past few years. But I think they're looking at Dak and saying, you're getting paid $40 million a year. We need you to deliver, to really elevate an offense, to really elevate our team and go win something if you want to get paid anything more. Go make a run like Jared Goff. But if you don't, and I don't feel like Dallas is giving Dak as many weapons as he's had in the past, I think their roster's weaker going into this season. I think they're looking to show and say, well, you just didn't deliver. We're moving on. So I think Dak Prescott's a little bit on the hot seat. But the new kind of number does seem for productive quarterbacks to be 50 plus. Jalen Hurts, 51. Lamar Jackson, 52. Justin Herbert, 52.5. Joe Burrow, 55. Jared Goff, now 53. Kirk Cousins in at 45. But Kirk Cousins is not the productive quarterback, nor young like a Justin Herbert, a Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, etc. I mean, Jalen's only 24 years old when he signed that contract. He's actually younger than Justin Herbert when he signed the contract. So, 35, okay, move you out of the way. But the real people that we should be looking at are the CJ Strouds, currently making about $9 million. Now, they've got him through 2027, so I don't think they'll redo that deal until 2026. But Trevor Lawrence is coming up here pretty soon. 2025, that deal's done. What could Trevor make? If I'm his agent, I'm saying, well, if I make a playoff run, for again, a historically not very good franchise, similar to the Lions, does Trevor Lawrence say, hey, I'm going to need 50? That would be crazy. It feels crazy, but you know what? In the modern kind of era of the way the salary cap is right now, is, 50 the new kind of normal run-of-the-mill price for a very productive quarterback? I don't think Trevor can get that. But if he makes a deep playoff run this offseason, could be spicy. Tua. What does Miami do with Tua? Again, still only making 75. Only making $7.5 million a year. But his contract's up. Got to be prepped for that. Got to be prepared and ready to go with Tua probably asking for at least 45. If he makes a playoff run, is he asking for 50? So it will be very interesting to see as the season progresses, some of these contracts. Tua, Trevor Lawrence, Jordan Love coming up on a contract year. Flashed quite a bit last season in the playoffs. He was on a $13.5 million 1-year deal. If he flashes again, I think Jordan Love could be demanding a $50 million a year contract, which is wild to say. Wild to say, especially when Patrick Mahomes is making 45. My shout out to some of these people, you might want to start taking a little less. I don't know. If I was a quarterback at a really good position, felt like I could win Super Bowls, I'm taking the Tom Brady line. I'm taking a little less. Now, I'm not going to take 30, right? I'm going to take market value, but Mahomes is making 45. Sounds like that's good enough for me if I'm winning Super Bowls. So, I don't know. We'll have to see how it plays out. Again, Jordan Love, Dak Prescott, Trevor Lawrence, Tua Tagovailoa. Those are the 4 contracts I'm really interested to see. Could be coming this year, could be coming next year for some of them, but some of them are done at the end of this year, so they're going to have new deals soon. Which leads me into what should be a pretty exciting offseason still to come, but also really exciting regular season with some people out there, looking at Jordan Love especially, who one more deep run, and I think you'd have to start considering making him this $50 million a year type quarterback. So that's my thoughts on the Jared Goff contract, what it means for NFL quarterbacks in general. Let me know in the comments down below. Do you think this was a good contract? Did they overpay a little bit? I know we kind of joke about Jared Goff, but he did go to a Super Bowl. He did take the Lions on a deep playoff run last season. I think you got to give him some credit. When you put pieces around him, they've locked in Penei Sewell on the offensive line. They've got a number 1 wide receiver in Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think he can be super productive. So, if they continue to draft really well and develop really well some young players, especially on that defense, I think Detroit's got some serious potential in the next probably 3 years to make a run at a Super Bowl, and I don't think the contract's going to hurt him too much. Let me know what you think in the comments, and we'll see you tomorrow.